Hello everyone, welcome to UGC NET Political Science classes by Drishti IAS. I am Dr. Ashwati. Students, in the last class, I have taught about political thinker from the unit number 2. In this class, I will be dealing with unit number 3, that is Indian political thought, and I will be starting with Kautilya. Why I have chosen Kautilya? It is because of the fact Kautilya is a very important political thinker and many questions actually came from the section of Kautilya, and from every respect, not just for the UGC NET examination but for many other examinations also, you have to understand about the life works of Kautilya. So let's start. Kautilya, I remember long back we used to read it like Kautilya is known as an Indian Machiavelli. So I remember a very learned scholar asked me why Machiavelli is not known as an Italian Kautilya. Obviously, there's a Eurocentric bias also. Kautilya, very important, prominent thinker, and Kautilya is read in various, in various works, not just in Indian political thought but also in international relations. He is also known for his classical realism and his theory. He actually came up with a very perfect work called the Arthashastra, where you can actually find the elements of statecraft. It's very important, students, that you have to understand about Kautilya. There are like certain issues with reference to his birth year, but yes, I have gone through various works, so I came up with this 350 BC. Kautilya, also referred to as Vishnugupta. His other name is Vishnugupta and he is also known as Chanakya. Was born in 350 BC. You can actually plus minus some 10 years also. There are certain confusions and debates on his birth year, but you can actually plus minus 350 BC, and he passed away in 275 BC. He is known for the establishment of the Chandragupta Mauryan Empire, the Mauryan Empire, and he was capable of destroying the Nanda dynasty. Installed Chandragupta Maurya on the throne of Magadh during the period to which a date can be ascribed to the Arthashastra. Very important work, Arthashastra. Why it is important? Because of the reason that it contains the very elements of statecraft which can be useful even in contemporary times. In the 21st century also we can use the ideas given by Kautilya. He has given details about the espionage, he has spoken about the organs of the state, and one of the most important element is that he spoke about anarchy. We learnt about anarchy in international sphere when we studied about realism, E.H. Carr's work and Morgenthau's work, which gave us details about anarchy. But many, how many thousands of years back, it was given by, the idea was actually propounded by Kautilya, where he actually emphasized that if your praja, the subjects, are not happy with you, it will create chaos, it will create anarchy, and it will endanger the throne of the king. It's very important, students, that Arthashastra is not just a treatise on economics, it is not just a treatise on statecraft, it is on diplomacy and various aspects he has actually touched upon. Now, during the period to which a date can be ascribed to the Arthashastra, that is between the 4th century BC and the 150 AD. So, there are various debates are there. There were only two empires during that period, the Nanda dynasty and the Mauryan Empire. Chandragupta Maurya was the first conqueror to join together the Indus Valley and the Gangetic Plain in one vast empire. So, you can understand that Indus Valley, that is to the north, Gangetic Plain to the north central regions of India, where it was capable of bringing many areas into one empire. Very important one. That's why for us, reading about Chandragupta Maurya is very important. But yes, for political science students, we have certain limitations. Let's leave it to the history students. Okay. Now moving further, Saptang theory. Sapt means 7, Ang organs, Saptang theory of state. We always learn about in comparative politics as well as in political science, we study about in political theory specifically, we study about the elements of state, what comprise an element, what comprise a state, the population, government, various area aspects are there. Many, like we can say many centuries, 1,000 years back, we had Kautilya who gave an idea about the 7 elements of state. First is the Swami, that is the king. There are, like in Ruchi Tyagi, there is one book by Ruchi Tyagi, and she is working as a professor in Delhi University. Her work on Indian political thought is very good one. You can read V.R. Mehta. There are so many books actually. There is one book by Himanshu Roy and M.P. Singh on themes and thinkers in Indian political thought. I am just, I will mention about the title of that book here in this lecture itself. So in that lecture, in that book also, you can read about Indian political thought, and there's a very older book also by Vishnu Bhagavan that is also on Indian political thought. So there are so many works that you can refer to, where in all these works you will find reference about this Saptang theory, very important one. So Swami, that is the king, they have given details like how the king should be, what vices he should actually avoid, and there are so many things which are given there. Second is Amatya. Amatya means ministers. Like the king, then he has this council of ministers. So every time how they should be behaving and how the king should keep a check on these ministers is also a very critical element in Saptang theory. Then we have Janpad, Rashtra, or the territory, the land or to which you are actually controlling. In like when you talk about Dharma Shastras and all these period, we had different types of yagyas were also there. These are rituals basically, the Ashwamedh Yagya, Rajasuya Yagya, and many other things were there for the expansion of their empire. But yes, Janpada is a very important element, because you should know that what all elements actually, what all regions you, the expansion of the regions that you conquer or that you actually control. Then after Durg, it's not Durga, it's Durg. Durg means fort. Like it is one of the most important element, that it is a kind of a protection. You have to create such enclave, or what we call it as that. You need to create forts, and different layers of forts are also necessary, because that will give you an additional level of protection. So he considered Durg or fortified town and cities as a very important element to save or to protect the Janapada from what? From annexations, conquering, and all these things. Kosha. Kosha means treasury. The money, how you are going to generate the income, how much you are going to generate the revenue, how much you are going to spend. All these things you can find in Arthashastra. Danda, that is the forces, your soldiers, your auxiliary class. There you can actually draw parallel to that of Plato also. Like Plato spoke about what you call it as the auxiliary class, but here also this in under Saptang theory you have Danda, the forces, the army, basically the army or your military. Mitra, Mitra, that is the 7th element, that is allies. What sort of friends you have, what sort of friendship you make with your neighbors, who are your enemies, and how you are going to create the alliances, that I will be discussing more in this lecture. So please, it's very important, and understand the Saptang theory in a chronological manner, like in this, so not in chronology but in the sequence, okay. So first comes the Swami, that is the king, that you can call it as like your Leviathan or the king, monarch, or whatsoever, your leader, whosoever it is. Then comes the ministers, then comes the territory, fort, treasury, then your army, and then finally your friends, foes, whatsoever. Next, a ruler's duties in the internal administration of the countries are threefold. According to Kautilya's Arthashastra, there are 3 things that king is supposed to perform, a ruler, that the Swami is supposed to perform. First is Raksha, Raksha, to protect. Then only people will actually have trust in you, obviously. So Raksha, or protection of the state from external aggression. Second comes Palana. Palana means how you maintain the economy, the social cohesion. All these things are actually very important. Palana or maintenance of law and order within the state is also a very important element. Third comes the Yoga-kshema, very important one, that is about welfareism. Imagine, it took how many years for the Europeans to actually place an idea about welfareism, but you find welfare ideas in that of Chanakya's Arthashastra. Yoga-kshema or safeguarding the welfare of the people is a very important element. It is because again he has talked about that if people are not happy, they will rebel, they will create chaos, and it will actually put, or it can actually endanger the throne of the king itself. So it's very important, and whenever there is a chaos in the state, what will happen? Your enemies are going to take benefit of it. So it is very important to follow these three things: Raksha, Palana, Yoga-kshema. Raksha, protection; Palana, maintenance of good order in the society; and Yoga-kshema means welfare. Then comes the 4 methods of dispute settlement. You must have heard about Sama, Dana, Danda, Bheda. Sama, it means that you try to solve the problem through negotiation, having a dialogue. Dana, give some donation, use money, then you can actually solve the dispute. Third is Bheda. It's actually connected to both. So usually we say that Danda Bheda. So we can actually give punishment also, like you use the coercive measures, like you use an army or whatsoever your security forces to crush the rebellion or the chaos. That is what Arthashastra has spoken about. But when you fail there also, you can create Bheda. Bheda means creating division within your enemy forces. It's a very common thing, that it's a kind of a conspiracy that you can create. So here he has spoken about 4 methods of dispute settlement. Next comes 6 methods of foreign policy, very important ones. Sandhi, making peace, like going for a peace dialogue. You don't want to go further for any sort of disputes or anything, you make a peace agreement, that is called Sandhi. Vigraha, Vigraha is very important one, classified into 3 kinds. One is the open war, a battle in the normal sense; secret war, attacking the enemy in a variety of ways and taking him by surprise; and undeclared war and clandestine attacks using secret agents and occult practices. So Vigraha is by like going for war. There are different methods of warfare that I am not explaining in this class. Asana, staying quiet. You are just looking for the opportunity. You are just waiting for the right opportunity. You have to maintain silence. Yana, preparing for war. What you will do? You are not directly going for the coercion, but rather than that, you are preparing yourself for war. You are modernizing, let's say I am not talking on modernization of weaponry, but rather than that, making preparations, better management skills and everything to be employed while going for a war. And you need to stock up things, whatever, like you have to first understand that what will be the consequences and how to deal with those consequences and contingencies. So you have to be like preparing for war is Yana. Samasraya is seeking the protection. This means that you seek help from others. You try to seek help from others who are actually your allies. Just like that, if you remember in 1971 war, like Pakistan actually tried to create an axis with that of China and USA, and it mounted pressure on India. What India did? India signed a friendship, 25 years of friendship treaty with that of Russia. In those days, it was known as USSR. So we went for a friendship with USSR. It gave a good capacity for India to counterbalance US forces. So you can understand that what is samsraya, like seeking the protection. You can actually go for, you can seek someone's help also, and it will actually boost up your in different ways. I am not saying that Soviet Union didn't come for directly warfare or anything, but it did give a kind of a psychological support, and it could actually mount pressure on USA also. So, Soviet Union with India and USA with Pakistan, automatically USA had to pull it out from the war, and ultimately India actually was facing two front war, but India won the war at the end. So, it is very important. Samshraya Dvedi Bhava. Dvedi Bhava means making peace with a neighboring king in order to pursue with his help the policy of hostility towards another. It is also a part of alliance building itself, that you go with someone and it is to a policy of hostility towards another, like how you choose your friends, like what sort of friends you choose in international relations. It's very important. And there is a very famous saying that in international politics you don't have permanent friends. You can never have permanent friends. It keeps on changing. In the Cold War period, we had a very cold relations with United States of America, but in the 21st century, we are the strategic partners. We are the, well, now you must have seen that Modi visited USA, and there are so many pacts that we have signed. So, it actually gives us a kind of an idea that the alliances keeps on changing. It's very important. Those students who are preparing for foreign policy, like research in foreign policy or anything, you have to understand this. You cannot change the geography, but you cannot change your neighbors basically. And but at the same time, the friends may change. The friends that you make, the alliances that you build, it may change from time to time. It's very important one from the perspective of foreign policy. Rajamandala theory or Mandala Siddhant. This picture I have taken from the book Indian Political Thought, Themes and Thinkers by M.P. Singh and Himanshu Roy. Very important one, and students can actually buy this book also to get a comprehensive understanding about the unit number 3. Many thinkers that is required in the UGC NET examination is covered in that book. You can also read another book by this one, Pantham's book is also there, then Modern Political Thought by Bidyut Chakravarti. So many books are there. Always I say that UGC NET is not limited to any one single book. There is no one rule of thumb, but you have to go through various books. It is obviously mandatory. Those students who have done their masters, they must have understood about this fact that you cannot rely on only one book, but you can actually diversify yourself. You can read, this is very important book, Indian Political Thought, Themes and Thinkers by M.P. Singh and Himanshu Roy. You can read the work by Ruchi Tyagi, Vishnu Bhagwan, V.R. Mehta. So many books are there in the market. You can read them and you can prepare yourself for the examination. So, coming back to the Rajamandala theory, it actually gives a kind of an idea about the placement of the kings. Vijikishu is an expansionist, or the person who actually has a interest in becoming a Chakravarti. Okay, Vijikishu. And then after Ari, Mitra, that is the nearest is your enemy. Then you have friends. Then after you, it goes on Udasina, that you can see that the neutral kings are also there. So this is basically the idea how you place your kings. It is basically a kind of an understanding about that, how to understand about the alliances as well as about your friends and foes. That is all about the Mandala theory. Very important one. Next, this is a question. This question was asked in UGC NET examination. The first one is Amatya. Amatya are actually the eyes. Eyes, Amatya, the ministers. They are not going to fight for war or anything, but they keep an eye. They keep an eye on everything, what so things are happening, and they reported that of the king. And with this ministers are actually the council of the king, and they keep an eye on every. So that's why we have departments are actually divided. Then you have the Suhrid. Suhrid are actually the ears. Whatsoever things are happening, you have to keep listening to the viewpoints that are there in the state. Durg, see. Okay, so the Durg means the arms. You know what we say, that the arms give a kind of a protection. I have already mentioned. Okay, Durg. Then after you have Kosha, which is the mouth. It is the feeder, that how much money is to be spent, where to be spent, and how to increase it. You need a good revenue generation, because it is not just about feeding the population, doing some welfare duties, but at the same time you have to save money for meeting any form of contingencies. Wars may happen, floods, natural calamities, so many things can happen. The king and his government needs to be aware about the situation that emergencies can happen, so they need reserve money also, and they have to be very calculative in terms of spending. Next comes, who said Kautilya's Arthashastra exemplified radical Machiavellism? Compared to it, Machiavelli's prince is harmless. This was said by Weber. Answer is A. Kautilya's theory of Rajamandala belongs to what? Social structure, economy, foreign policy and interstate relation, structure of dharma. Obviously, foreign policy and interstate relation. Ari, Mitra, that Vijaygishu, Ari, Mitra, Mitra, and number of states. Then after you have Udasina king, etc. So it belongs to the realm of foreign policy and interstate relation. So answer is C. Next. The Saptang theory of state comprises what? Okay. So it comprises, obviously, Swami is there, Amatya is there, Janpad, Mitra is there, Durg, Kosh, Danda. All these things are there. What it doesn't contain, that is Adhyakshas and Ayamukham. Okay, so A, B, C is the correct answer. Okay. So that's all in this class, students. Prepare well for this unit. And Dharma Shastras, every year we are getting questions from Dharma Shastras. Either they are asking the Manu's law, or they are asking from that of who gave the idea of Raj Dharma, etc. Shanti Parva. All these things are being covered in UGC NET examination. So you have to be very careful in preparing all these areas. Aganna Sutta is also being like asked in many examinations. So you have to prepare well from the ancient. Ancient we have Dharma Shastras, Kautilya and Aganna Sutta are part of it. So prepare well, students. And another information is that I have already mentioned in the beginning of the class itself, that our next batch is starting from 10th of July. So those students who are interested to take up the course, for more details they can check out the links given in the description box. Thank you, students. See you in another lecture. Bye.